You want to know why piracy is coming back? Because right now, the video game industry, they sell you digital games, right, that you can download onto your console. Now these gaming companies, they want to have the right to take that game away from you after you buy it, which is why they're pushing this whole digital situation. Also, it saves money on, printing out the disc, but they also want to have control whether you can have access to your games that you already pay for, which is, well, it's bullshit. So, and now Sony is trying to pull this stunt, and you could see why piracy is blowing up. It's coming back, boys. We can pirate again.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. Welcome to today's episode of How You Getting Fucked. I'm your host, Louis Ron. Remember the video that I did about 3 years ago? Sony steals customers' purchase content, piracy is completely justified. That video was referring to a message that many people got from Sony. As of December 31st, 2023, due to our content licensing arrangements with content providers, you will no longer be able to watch any of your previously purchased Discovery content, and the content will be removed from your video library. We sincerely thank you for your continued support. They're not saying that you're not going to be able to watch content on net.
This is for TV shows. Okay, so if you buy a digital version of a movie or TV show, they could just take it away.
Netflix, where you're paying a monthly fee to be able to access and stream what they have. They said that what you had purchased that's in your library has been taken away from you. Imagine if you went to Barnes & Noble and you bought a bunch of books, and 5 or 10 years later, you walked into your house and you walked into the room that all your books were in, and you noticed that a bunch of them were missing from your bookshelf because Barnes & Noble took them back. But they never gave you a refund. That's not okay.
That should be a crime. That should be a fucking crime. Piracy should be legal at that point, right? If you can steal from your customers, then I think your customers should be able to steal from you. I think that's very fair.
And that's exactly what they did over here. The reason that they were doing this is because they didn't actually own
This
the
is how you
content
stop the
that
wage
they
gap.
were making available to you. Sony does not own the films and shows it sold to the store. Sony licenses them from the studios that produce them and has no ownership of that content. So let's get this straight. I have a house. Let's say I sell my house for $500,000 to you. Let's say 5 years later, somebody comes by and just takes the house from you and doesn't give you the money back, and the original owner doesn't give you the money back. And the reason they give is, well, that's actually my house, and the person who sold it to you had no right to sell it to you. In that arc of a story, how did somebody not commit a crime? Here, there was no...
Actually, no, in Korea, they actually had that problem back then. It was like a long time ago, but they fixed it recently. South Korea, people could just sell someone else's house. and if the person that got scammed didn't call the cops, that person can get away with the money.
crime committed. They were able to use the word purchase to describe what they were selling you, but they didn't say until page 26 in their terms of service, use of the terms own, ownership, purchase, sale, sold, sell, rent, or buy in this agreement or in connection with the content does not mean or imply any transfer of ownership of any content, data, or software, or any intellectual property rights. And they've actually done it again. So originally, they took it back. About a few days later, they said, due to updated licensing arrangements, the Discovery content removal plans is no longer occurring. We appreciate your ongoing support and feedback. It looked like they changed their mind. And yeah, LOL, JK. This is a message that many people got and have emailed me. As of September 1st, 2026, due to our content licensing arrangements...
And your previous purchased... Oh, wow. That is absolutely criminal. Like, it's amazing that people can do this, right? I feel like you should just be given the file, and... fair enough, like, if you're given a file, you download it onto your hard drive, you should be able to access it whenever. But then, like, they could just straight up delete it.
You will no longer be able to watch any of your previously purchased Studio Canal content, and the content will be removed from your video library. Thank you, PlayStation Store. Play has no limits, even if the definition of own does. Yeah, no limits my balls, asshole. You guys have limited the definitions of the word sale, sold, purchase, own. Like, there's nothing that PlayStation does more than limit. I want you to think about...
I feel like that should be a class action lawsuit, but here's the sad thing about class action lawsuits. They never had to pay back more of the money that they made from the situation. I feel like with class action lawsuits, companies have to pay more of the damage that they cause.
What these companies...
Usually whatever the money that they steal or damage they cause, let's say they cost $1 billion worth of damage. Realistically, after a class action lawsuit, they only pay about $200 million, like 20% of the damage that they cause.
Companies have gotten mad about for the longest period of time. What they've got
That's why
mad at is not
companies are so
piracy,
rich.
it's copyright infringement. It's when you go onto BitTorrent or Usenet or Emule or an IRC DDC bot or SoulSeek and you download a copy of something from somebody else. I can't make a copy of this for myself because apparently I don't really own it. But they can make a copy of something that they don't own and sell it to me and take it away from me later. And that's okay. How is that any better than piracy? They're claiming that when you make a digital copy of this and you give it to somebody because you did not own the rights to it, that's bad. But they're allowed to sell something that they don't own the rights to, and then they're allowed to take it back from you. When you download a copy of a movie off of BitTorrent, the person that you downloaded it from has not profited from this. In my opinion, that is less immoral than what Sony did, because not only is Sony distributing something that does not belong to them, they are doing it for money. There's a reason that I say piracy.
Yeah, what the hell? How are they doing it? Wait, they have the license, right? At least they have the license.
Piracy is completely justified, because none of this makes any sense. You're not allowed to sell things that don't belong to you with the word sell, sold, or purchase. Like, just imagine this for a moment. Imagine that you have a library. My dad had a room in our house. It wasn't a real library, but he called it the library. It had four bookshelves of all the books that he had been collecting since he was a kid. Imagine you buy a book, and then 5 years later, that book that you purchased from Barnes & Noble is no longer there because somebody broke into your house and took it away. And imagine Barnes & Noble said, oh, LOL, sorry, we didn't actually have the rights to sell that to you, so we had to take it back. And then you say, well, A, you broke into my house, but forget about that for a moment. Can you give me my money back? And they say no. Piracy is completely justified at this point because we live in a world, we live in a legal system where this is legal, but taking a copy of my Black Mirror legally purchased Blu-ray and ripping it with this Pioneer BDR2213 so I can watch a high-resolution copy on my laptop on the plane when I'm flying away is not. Me being able to use what I bought and paid for is illegal. I am breaking Section 1201 of the DMCA. The person who made the tool for this drive that allows me to break the encryption in this Blu-ray so I can rip a copy for personal use is somebody that could be sent to prison for 3 to 5 years. But the person who took the content that I legally paid for, thousands of dollars of stuff in my content library, out of my library, is just, that's a business model.
I remember back then, like, you go to markets and you see these people selling ripped CDs or DVDs of movies. Man, they sell that shit for cheap. It was like $5 for 3 movies. Those were the fucking days. Oh man, I wish I still had those DVDs, but I was too dumb and I threw it all away. But then they were not originals, they were just pirated. Piracy is justified.
No. This is fucking stupid. And there's a reason that I have these things and I've had these things behind me on the desk for a long time. This box disappeared recently after I cleaned up, but I want to explain it a little bit. I have a lot of tools here that I use for things that many media companies don't like. I have the Silicon Dust HD Home Run. I've had it for almost 20 years now. You can use it to get DRM-free recordings, picture perfect, no extra compression of over-the-air, high-definition television broadcasts, and I can record those broadcasts, which I have for a long time. I wanted to watch 24 and Prison Break, and I didn't want to deal with the low-resolution DVD. So I have this thing so that I could record high-definition copies, and I would share them with my friends at the time as a teenager. I have this BDR2213, which allows me to rip full 4K copies of my Blu-rays. However, I also pay for my Blu-rays. I pay for the content I find valuable, up to the point of having this in my collection. This is SUSE Linux 8.1. This is a Linux distribution. I paid, I don't know if the focus is going to work on this, I paid $79.99 in 2002 to buy this. I was a teenager. I was 13 years old when I purchased Linux. Most people that I knew don't even purchase Windows, and here I am paying for an open source operating system. When I find something valuable, when it respects my freedom, I am happy to pay the asking price. I want to show...
Isn't that illegal? Or what is it? Best Buy is selling a open source program. That reminds me, I remember back in 2004, my friend's mom asked Geek Squad to come over and install Norton Antivirus. This was back in 2004. The Geek Squad came over to install Norton Antivirus, and they charged her $200 to install a program. That is criminal. I don't trust Best Buy at all. They are conniving. Installing a program is as simple as 4 clicks of a button. Next, 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 finished. Geek Squad charged you $200 for that.
that when somebody provides me with value, I will provide them with that value in return. I am more than happy to pay for the things that I find valuable. What I am not willing to do is have you limit my freedom with bullshit restrictions and rip me off in this particular manner. The reason that it is so important that you be able to break a digital lock, the reason it is so important that I be able to break all the encryption on these Blu-rays and rip them, the reason that it is important that you be able to have the freedom to do these things is because when you don't, you have a company that can literally redefine what the word own means and then rip content from your library while having the balls to say that we have no limits. You have a fucking limit. If I can buy something from you in 2021 with the word purchase and you can take it away from me without refunding me my money in 2026, that's a fucking limit, Sony. And you shouldn't be allowed to do that. But at the very least, if you're going to be allowed to do that shit, I should be allowed to pirate your shit. Seriously. If this happened to any of you and you go on BitTorrent or Usenet or...
The thing is, like, no people will have the money to shill to sue these massive companies, right? These companies are going to keep pushing and lobbying for rules that will benefit them. Like, no individual consumer has the power or the resource to sue these big companies. And even if they do sue them, like, the incentive that these people get after winning a court case against these big corporations, it's so little. They basically just bleed. It's like a blood spell where they have little damage.
Emule, and you get a copy of whatever it is they took away from you from somebody who ripped a perfectly lossless copy with one of these devices, you should be able to. There's a reason that it is important that you be able to break digital locks, because content providers have broken the social contract time and time again. Something is seriously wrong if we live in a society where me ripping a copy of my legally owned Blu-ray is illegal, but them stealing your content is not.
I feel like there's loopholes for this. For the way you can pirate games or pirate movies or TV shows, I feel like there is a way to loophole this. Like, I don't know, like maybe write it off as a different kind of thing besides NFT.
That's crazy. A lot of you have emailed me with this issue, and I appreciate it. But I would appreciate even more than that is if you would go to consumerrights.wiki while you're writing that email and create an article. We're trying to create the best centralized database that is open source that anybody can contribute. You can make law articles here without even logging in that goes over every single time a company has tried to revoke ownership or change the terms of the sale after the sale in this way. My nonprofit is going to be fighting for ownership. We're working to reform anti-ownership laws in the United States, and we're working to ensure that stuff like this just doesn't go this way. We're going to have some signature pieces of legislation.
Yeah, dude, I'm very pro like spending money for good movies, right? Like Back to the Future or RoboCop and like, you know, these other like Good Will Hunting, Titanic, like these good movies. I'll totally spend money to go to the theaters to watch them. But then, you know, if they can just steal the DVDs that I buy, then fuck that. Fuck this place.
That we're hoping to get pushed later this year. And what we need is when the opposition lobbyists show up and say this is a problem that doesn't exist, they're making it up. I want to be able to put on their desk the equivalent of stacks of phone books just filled with every single instance of the very companies that they represent taking part in this anti-consumer, anti-ownership bullshit. Don't let yourself be gaslit. Most people are actually willing to pay for the things that they find valuable, but they don't want to pay for this. And we've learned over 30 years into this.
I used to pirate video games when I was a kid, but after I got a job, I stopped pirating video games because primarily it's a security issue. But then like once I get a job, I would very much rather pay for video games. I think like the idea of pirating video games is a bad idea if you make money, because then like you will have more financial responsibilities, right? You probably have bank accounts, you probably have an investment account, and then you have all these important financial information on your computer. And if you were to pirate video games, you put yourself at risk for getting hacked and getting all your money stolen. So it would make sense for you to spend more money to pay for entertainment, right? And also like with entertainment, you know, you spend $15 for a movie that will last 2 hours. That's like $7 an hour of entertainment. If you make minimum wage, I think it kind of makes sense, right? And also, like for video games, you can spend $60 for 30 hours of entertainment, and I think $60 for 30 hours, that's like $2 an hour. It's a good deal. It's definitely not worth the risk. No matter where you go, like there's always some kind of risk with these pirating websites.
That This is not a working business model.
Unfortunately, at least in some areas, our policies haven't worked out too well. Our attempts at copyright control, at least thus far, have not been successful. But I don't just blame teenagers and college students. I really blame the moguls in the music industry, because had they been thinking about these business models when we were doing our work in 1994 in the Clinton administration, had they been developing effective online distribution models when the internet first came into business, had they been talking to Steve Case when AOL first started to become a big deal, and really seriously developing an online business model, perhaps we would not be in the situation that we are. But the culture of that industry was such that, those people were concerned principally with and their talents were developing talent, understanding public taste. They didn't know anything about distribution or technology or anything like that. Minions dealt with that. Well, their industry has paid the price. Hopefully there's not any, I won't be quoted in the US, but
I also remember League of Legends have room pages. Like, you can spend money for RP and then you can buy room pages. Dude, now they give those shit for free. I should get a fucking refund for that.
Afraid our Clinton administration policies didn't work out very well. Now, a lot of people accuse me
I spent money on those dodge runes too. I remember that. Those dodge runes, and then they took it out of the game. I feel like I should get a refund.
At the time of doing an end run around Congress and everybody else by negotiating these treaties, and then coming back and saying, well, because we submitted this to Congress before the treaties process was completed, then coming back and saying, well, now you have to do this, Congress, because we've agreed to a treaty. And I would say that they're probably right, that it was an end run and it was partly deliberate. And the final statute that comes out, was a guy who was the head of then the biggest record company in the world, Warner Records, and he was a very nice guy. And he wrote a book a few years later after he retired and confirmed what I always thought to be the case about record industry executives. Record industry executives are impresarios. And the most successful record industry executives, I would characterize as 45-year-old man who can think like a 17-year-old girl and likes to hang out at 3 o'clock in the morning and do drugs with rock stars. And he basically admitted to all of that in his book that he wrote several years later. Unfortunately, that is not a mindset, a part of the brain that does very well at evolving new business models for highly complex technologies.
All of this needs reform.
Yeah.
And
also, if you look at anime, right, you see that when you go online or you go on YouTube, you look at anime. Like, if you want to look for a specific clip, like, I remember back then, like, Code Geass, I always look at, like, Code Geass clips, and then it always get DMCA'd or it gets taken down because of, some kind of DMCA violation. That anime died fast. Like, it's dying, but it died even faster because no one's talking about it, because they can't talk about Code Geass and its video format where people have the most conversation about anime. They pretty much silenced themselves out of marketing. They were selling so much merch, with like their whole the robot thing, the Gundam style look. They could have made so much money if they just let people talk about it. Include the clips, include the music. I remember like trying to listen to that music, "Flow" by Sign or "Sign" by Flow. That song keeps getting taken down because it was DMCA'd, right? And then it ruined their chance to market themselves after the anime was finished. And who knows, if the social conversation kept going about that anime, they probably would have had a sequel if they didn't kept silencing themselves. In a way, like, if you let people, just like have clips of your TV show or movie in YouTube, and you just leave them alone, let them talk about it, and stop silencing them, you could have shit pick up really well, right? Like Hunter x Hunter, they just let people do what they want, right? To include the clips, and then like the population just managed to manifest into a sequel, and that became Hunter x Hunter 2011. Not a sequel, but it was a remake. So, it's always better just let people talk about it or pirate it. Piracy is strangely overall a net positive to entertainment.
We're going to be working to do that piece by piece by piece. We're not going to get everything that we want immediately, but I'm going to be working to chip away at the most unfair parts of these laws as often as I can. And when the time comes when we have a piece of legislation introduced, I hope that you will be open to working with us to make it happen. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now. You know, actually, before I end it, this is a Sony camcorder. I got it fixed recently. And I really thought this was being petty, but like I had an issue with the lens and I had an issue with this thing after some physical damage. And what I know, there's a button over here. I don't even use this button, but what I noticed is that every other way that you press the button, it automatically returns to where it was. But when you press it down, it doesn't return to the center anymore. And it didn't do that before I sent it off. And it's just one of these things where I'm a repair company. I've been on the other end of this doesn't like this before you touched it so many times. I just wasn't going to be the dude that was going to do that to another repair company. I don't have it in me to be a customer. They gave me the wrong quote. It took them a week to relook at the device to give me a quote for what I originally asked for. They said 3 times that they never even received it when they did. I felt bad about complaining about that. I felt bad about filing a chargeback. Fuck that. I'm filing a chargeback on Sony today. You revoked ownership from tens of thousands of people. You sold stuff you don't even own. I'll file a chargeback for you messing up the button on my camcorder. Completely unrelated to the topic of the video.
Hey, don't feel bad about screwing big companies over, right? Especially when you're playing it by the book. Never feel bad about it. Let me see. I remember when I had the Xbox 360, it had the red ring of death, right? Or actually, yeah, I just I turned it in, they couldn't fix it. Or they took 6 months to fix it, and then wait, no, that wasn't me, that was my friend, actually. Well, you know what? Oh wait, actually no, this was something else. I remember I found an iPhone on the floor. I handed it into the Apple guys at the Genius Bar, and they just gave me a brand new iPhone, and I sold that iPhone. It's so weird. Like you could totally see why people were stealing iPhones back in 2009. It was wild times. It was the wild west of technology. But now, you know, you can't do that anymore. They have a whole system to prevent that. But you know what, man? Fuck these companies. Like they will break any rule to screw you over. Like I had a North Face backpack that had lifetime warranty. But then like one time the zipper broke, right? It was a very unusual thing. You can write it off as a defect, but then North Face, they try to write off my backpack as, oh, this is normal wear and tear. We don't cover this with our lifetime warranty. Oopsies. They pull these stunts. These big companies, they will keep pulling these stunts. Like, oh yeah, you have lifetime warranty, but then they can make any nefarious reasons to screw you over. Oh yeah, another example. I was gonna get rebates for MSI when I bought these graphics cards. Like you had to fill out a form, you had to sign it, and then you know you mail that shit in, you get $20 back. I filled out everything, you know, sign it, no problem, okay. Then I got an email from MSI. They say that you didn't sign the thing, and I could see like how they poorly Photoshop my signature off. You can still see some of the edges on my signature, like where they didn't white it out. They photoshopped my signature out of the thing. They took a picture of it, sent it to me, like, oh, you didn't sign it, so we cannot issue you the rebate, blah blah blah. Fuck fuck MSI. Fuck them. They can kiss my balls. So what I do, I go on. There's not much I could do. I go on their website, and then I go on Newegg, and then I wrote like 1-star review on like a bunch of their graphics cards, even though I didn't buy any of them, just to fuck them. But you know, it is what it is, right? You can trust a company, or you know, if the company want to destroy themselves, you know, that's their decision. Not much you could do about it. You're just a cog in the engine. You could try to do some damages, but No, there's really no benefit for an individual to sue a company. Uh, but if you ever do have the chance to, take advantage of a corporation, go for it. Don't feel bad. All right, just don't break any rules in the process.